Hello, everybody, and welcome to our first edition of Magic Mike's Plus One Plus One. Proudly sponsored by CoolStuffInc.com, CardHoarder.com, Alter Sleeves, as well as Twitch subscribers and Patreon supporters just like yourself. My name is Evan Irwin, and we get started each week by saying hello to my two co-hosts, MDG Nerd Girl,
Hey guys.
Ruben Bressler,
Hey, how's it going?
as well as our special guest for this episode, Jim Davis.
Thanks for having me.
Yay!
Yay, me.
We appreciate you being here. Absolutely. So if you missed our pre-show or wanted to see how this whole thing got set up and together, subscribers to this channel get access to our NSFW version early, but our patrons will get exclusive access to this early content. So patreon.com/magicmics for all that stuff. And with that, we start the show. Now, this is our first real interview show. And so I guess the first thing to kind of bring in here is, for those who may not be aware, Jim, of who you are and where you came from and all that good stuff, tell them a little bit about yourself and what brought you to your content creating moment here.
Sure. I mean, I've been playing Magic for a heinously long time at this point. Definitely a boomer if we're going to be classifying boomers and zoomers. But I've been playing for like 20 years at this point, and I spent a lot of time playing on the Pro Tour in like my mid-20s, traveling the world and playing at events. And was honestly, it's kind of funny that back then I was very adverse to doing content. Back then, the stigma was kind of like, writers weren't very good. The good players just played and didn't write. Content creation was like, why would I do that? I'm just going to play. And it was really about just like holding up in your house and playing Moto, 12 hours a day and getting really good. I remember I kind of like begrudgingly started writing in 2013 and, article, once a week or whatever, went bi-weekly or whatever it was, and just started kind of dipping into the content pool and slowly completely flip-flop on that. So now I've been a full-time content creator for 6 years. I still compete occasionally, but it's more of like a, hey, cool, I qualify for something, and not like the entire essence of my being as it was for about 8 years there, to an almost unhealthy extent. Now it's much more healthy, and I'm very, very happy and very, very lucky to do what I do. And I do it all: YouTube, Twitch, Instagram, and TikTok. I'm trying those out a little bit. Twitter, and I still play occasionally, obviously too.
You're also a family man. You just had a new addition to the family.
Yes, it has been quite the few months here. In the last few months, I had a baby. His name's Cassian, and he'll be 6 weeks on Thursday, so goodness. 2 days from now. And I played in Worlds. So I was in Vegas for a week. I was in DreamHack over the weekend, or whatever. So I've been traveling a lot at the same time as having a baby, which has been a very, very stressful thing, obviously, and prepping for the baby. And we bought a house 2 years ago, and we're constantly redoing bathrooms and stuff like that. So it's been a wild and crazy couple of years, but it's been really, really awesome. At times I feel a little like I'm in a whirlwind, and I'm like, oh my god, I feel like I've been in damage control mode for the last 2 months of just trying to like hold the ship together, but it's awesome, and I'm extremely lucky and very, very thankful.
Yeah, I'm actually curious how, being a new father, that's got to be difficult with a travel schedule of any kind, really, but especially if your performance at whatever event you're traveling to requires a lot of preparation, a lot of mental energy. Do you think that your preparation for these more recent events, DreamHack and Worlds, was different in some way, or were you more locked in, or was there any difference at all as compared to before you had a small version of yourself around the house?
I think the biggest difference is that now, like, I didn't do very well in DreamHack this weekend. I did okay, but like I was like 6-1 or whatever, and then I lost a few, and but it just doesn't matter. Like when I was playing, competing, when I was just on my own, and I was kind of like living the total degenerate lifestyle. If I went to a Pro Tour and did bad, it was the end of the world. It was like, my entire self-worth was invested in it, which is not particularly healthy, and now I play in an event, and if I do badly, I go home and I have my baby and my wife and my family and my house and my content creation and all this wonderful stuff. And like, I want to do well. I mean, obviously I don't like to lose, but the reality is that like, it's so comforting to just have that and to know that like, okay, well, if I lose every match, I still go home to my family, so it's really, really cool. For Worlds, I specifically took the time out for Worlds. It was kind of like a combo pack where due to the timing of baby and Worlds, I was able to take a month off for the most part, banked up a lot of content and just focus primarily on getting ready for baby and testing like I used to for a Pro Tour. We work really, really hard for that event. Me, Ilika Cease, Mike Sigris, and Jakob Toth, and we did really well. You know, it all worked out pretty good. Didn't really prep too hard for DreamHack, honestly, because the timing just wasn't really there. And like, you know, I got to pick my spots. You know, I understand now that, you know, playing in events is fun. I love competing, but the reality is that, you know, it's not as important as my day job as what I do. And I'm not going to tank my content just to try and do well again. I tried for a while when I first started doing content to do like the grinder thing and the content thing back in Team MGG days, Team BCW and the SG Tour. And I ended up just kind of doing badly at both of them because I was so split, you know? So I recognized, you know, about a few years into that, like, okay, trying to actually play and travel full time and do content full time is not sustainable. I'll make the smart choice for myself. I'm going to do content. If I get to play occasionally, cool. Otherwise, you know, so I think that for most events, you know, I'm a little underprepared, honestly. For Worlds, I work really hard. I think for the Pro Tour coming up in Philly, we're going to get a house to work really hard. You know, but, you know, for the most part, preparation is kind of what I can do. And just want to take a moment, huge, unbelievable props to Nicole, my wife. Nicole has been unbelievable in the last 6 weeks. Just an absolute champion, so supportive. And Nicole's like, you know, when Worlds was announced, I mean, we knew our due date and we knew that it was like kind of close. And she was like, "You're going to Worlds. I don't care if you're missing the birth of our child." I'm like, "All right, I'm not going to miss the birth. I'm definitely not missing that, you know." But like, you know, she's like, "Listen, he'll be a week old. He's a blob. You know, all he does is poop and sleep. You know, like you're not missing anything really, any first important things or whatever. You know, you'd be stupid not to go. I'll be here. I got this. Go." You know, and having that in your corner is just like, I can't even put it into words. She's been incredible. She slept probably 2 or 3 hours a night every night for a month. I don't know how she's even functional at this point. So, man, props to Nicole. She's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I have a quick question about, you mentioned like the preparation before baby. I heard that you had quite the backlog of specifically YouTube stuff before you decided to take your sort of leave for baby, seeing as how that's how you keep phrasing that. What was your schedule like while you were like getting ready for that sort of winter lockdown? Like tons of streaming and how many hours of like recording?
Hell on earth. I recorded 6 weeks of content in 2 weeks. You know, I pre-wrote a couple articles for Cool Stuff, recorded extra videos. You know, it was a real grind. It was a lot of stuff at once. I feel a little bad. I feel like my content in the last like few months has not been great, you know, because I definitely had some times where I'm shot, or you know, like I did Mog Monday yesterday, and I was just, I mean, I played awful. I was half asleep. I was like, I'm sorry, everyone. Like, you know, I'm trying, and it hurts because like you want to keep that schedule. You want to keep, you know, a video every day, you know, and now I have like my main channel with a video every day. I have a new Bronze Mythic channel, which is 3 videos a week. So it's like 10 videos a week streaming. You know, I do a Cool Stuff article once a week, a Cool Stuff video once a week. It's a lot, you know, and like it was a very tough, you know, 2 or 3 weeks. Nicole was, you know, I was cranking out the videos. And for those who don't know, Nicole works for me. Nicole does my YouTube, does all the thumbnails, puts all the videos up. So I would just crank out 8 videos. All right, Nicole, there you go. 8 more videos, go put them up, you know? And it was a crazy couple of weeks. Still recovering, you know, just like trying to get everything back. You know, I'm looking to hire an assistant. I'm trying to figure out what I can do to be smarter about things, you know, like CGB, you know, another Cool Stuff content creator. I love him. He's great. I got to hang out with him at DreamHack for a couple hours at the bar and stuff. And he's so smart with how he runs his things like a business. You know, he contracts out a lot of work to editors. He just like recognizes that he can't do everything and is very quick to be like, all right, I'm going to hire someone to do this. That's great. You know, and I don't always do that very well. I'm a kind of a control freak, and I kind of like want to do everything. And there's a point where you just can't, you know, so I'm still kind of learning that, trying to pace things out and stuff. So it's been an adjustment in that regard. Still kind of like figuring it out, but yeah, the lead up to that, you know, 1 month paternity leave / Worlds prep was pretty intense.
Yeah, we started the show here with no external editors. It was just me doing it like all the time, and we'd do the show late, and I'd be up till after midnight, 1 a.m. editing and posting. And after a while, I'm just like, I gotta hire somebody, because we can't do everything ourselves.
And now we've got 2 editors for different shows and like other support. Like it takes a village for sure.
Yeah.
Having Nicole, I mean, Nicole started working with me basically when the pandemic started-ish. She was a bartender prior, and then we had kind of planned on her, you know, starting to leaving that, being home more with John and family stuff, and then working for me as well. And COVID kind of happened anyway, so that just kind of pushed the issue. But having her on my side in that was so helpful, because there were so many times where like I'd start streaming at 9 a.m., stream for 8 or 9 hours, get off, maybe eat, and then start putting the videos up. And Nicole would knock on my door at like 11:30 and be like, Jim, like, come to bed, just stop. And like now I don't have that extra weight of like, I finished streaming, I had to do 4 hours of YouTube work. So
Right.
that's been really, really great. It's been cool. Obviously in-house, her computer is literally on the opposite side of mine. So I'll be streaming and she'll be like, hey, what on that thumbnail? I'll say, hey, put that on, so it's cool. It's great working with her. And it's been awesome. We're blessed to be able to work like this, and it's really, really cool. And of course she's home. So now she has baby home. So there's no worry about her being at the bar, not being home for that, and so on and so forth. So that's step one of my getting help, was having Nicole on board. And then, I got to figure out some more stuff too, but it's been going really good.
Nice.
Now, I've brought you here today to talk about your hockey obsession. Now, I see your hockey jersey that you're wearing. I assume that you're a fan of one of the two New York teams. Which one?
I'm a huge New York Rangers fan.
Rangers.
Yes. Huge.
So is that a problem, living on Long Island and having a Rangers flag out front? Do people egg your house?
It's a problem in our household, because I'm a Rangers fan. Nicole's an Islanders fan. And John, my stepson, who's 12 now, is a Canadiens fan. And I don't.
Oh.
He's very stubborn. And Nicole, when she finished showing him his ABCs and everything, like, what can I show him? So she downloaded an app on the iPad with like all the goal horns of each team. And we go through the logos and teach him them. And he kind of just went like, that one's my favorite, the Canadiens. He was like, a year and a half old or something. And he's just stuck with it, so he's a Canadiens fan. We've been to games, both Islander games and Ranger games, where we'll all go to the game. And I'm wearing a Rangers jersey. Nicole's wearing an Islanders jersey. He's wearing a Canadiens jersey. People look at us like, the hell is wrong with that family?
Right.
Like, what is wrong with them? And we're joking that Cassian's going to like be like a Nashville Predators fan or something. He's going to pick some random team also to complete the confusion.
Mm-hmm.
I love
You should
that.
definitely like encourage him to pick like another off the wall.
Yeah, just some.
The
Pick
Avalanche.
the jersey
Yeah.
you like best. The Coyotes jerseys are my favorite jerseys in the league. I could give a crap about the team, but their jerseys are nice.
The
That was-
best
that was-
colors would be the Sharks.
Yeah, that's the Sharks. See, that was the weird thing, because you would think that a 2-year-old looking at images would be like, ooh, Sharks, cool.
Right.
Ooh, Predator. Like, and the Canadiens logo, for those who don't know, is like a C with an H in it. It's like not a particularly evocative logo. And also, like, it just so happens the Canadiens are the most winning team ever in hockey. They have the most Stanley Cups. They're like the Yankees of hockey, basically. So you just happen to pick like the most winning team. I don't think he knew that at the time, but yeah, I mean, I agree. You would think the Sharks would be like an easy one for a 2-year-old. Ooh, Sharks biting the stick. That looks really cool, but yeah.
So for someone who does not has never watched hockey, I know very little about the sport. I grew up in East Tennessee. Come on now.
Well,
And
you've got
so-
the Preds now.
Yeah,
Yeah, I get it.
But for someone who has no idea what the sort of the allure is, how would you describe, hockey to them, and what makes you a fan of it?
Honestly, it's the kind of thing where you just go to a live game and, everyone who goes to a game is like, oh, wow, because the game is so fast. It's so exciting. It's a good mixture of like, it's a really fast sport. It's not like it's intense like football in the sense that it's a very physical game. There's a lot of body contact, obviously fighting is a part of the game. People like that and don't like that, but whatever, I can go to that for a bit, but very physical, a lot of big hits, blocks, and so on and so forth, but it's also fast. Football is, you watch a 3-hour game, you watch about 20 minutes of actual gameplay, a lot of fetch land shuffling in football.
Yeah.
And hockey is just go, go, go. For those who don't, know, in hockey, each player plays a shift of about 45 seconds. You get on, you sprint for 45 seconds, hit everyone you can, and then immediately get off on the fly. And at a live game, you get to watch that, because on TV, you can't really see it, because you're away from the boards. So the game's just so fast. It's so intense. And then they're just doing this on a sheet of literal ice. A thing you would normally just slip and fall down on, so it's so fast, so exciting. There's a lot of strategy in the game. And then this, the skill level, as well as just it's really fun seeing the difference here. There are some players that are unbelievably skilled, like Connor McDavid's the best player in hockey and like visibly the best player on the ice when you see a game. But there are players who aren't that skilled, but they just play so hard and so tough, and they just really, really outwork people, and they can succeed too, which is great. So hockey's the best sport. Not close. Sorry.
I think it's funny that some people, like, their job on the team is just to kind of get into fights.
Yep.
And, like, you're the bully. I get to go to a lot of Kraken game up
Oh,
here
awesome.
in Seattle. And it's a brand new stadium, and they put a ton of money into it. The Kraken are terrible. But I think it's one of the, like, best pre-shows. Like, they have everything down. Like, the entire stadium is ringed with screens, and they have Kraken tentacles that come.
Cool.
And they, like, have the enemy logo that, like, have as a tied to an anchor, and they sink it, and they have like these cool wave animations that go over the whole ice. It's really, really cool. Hockey games, I think, are some of my favorite games to go to.
Yeah, live hockey is just special.
Yeah, it's very good. Now, you have another passion. Talk to me about being a musician and now what do you play?
So I play guitar and bass, and I can play a little drums, but I'm not like a competent drummer.
And are you a traveling musician, or have you been?
No, I mean, I've played in a lot of bands over the years. Since high school, I played guitar in a band in high school. It's like a hard rock band. Then I played bass in a punk band, like a garage punk band. That's like a pretty funny long story. We were actually signed to like a small label in Paris because our singer would just like send out demos everywhere. And this dude put out like one record for Iggy Pop and the Stooges like 100 million years ago. And he like got our demo and like wanted to sign us. And then he like was like gonna take us out on tour in Paris. And like for a year, like it never really happened. And like at this time I was playing in pro tours. We'd like go play bars and stuff. And he eventually like came out to the States and recorded an album with us. And he was just like this crazy old French guy. And like he just lived with Brian and Adam, they're the guys in the band. They were doing rock star stuff. They were doing all sorts of things. I'm sure I can mention on the show. While I was out like playing Magic and playing Pro Tour. So I'm like, all right, guys, see you later. I'm going to Japan for a few days to go play Pro Tour. And they're like, all right, whatever. And so this guy lived with them for like a week or two, and he lost his mind, obviously, living with these ridiculous people. And he was just like this really, really funny guy. And you're just like, hey guys, what are you guys doing? All this kindergarten stuff you guys do, I don't understand, And when the band broke up, Adam, who was a singer guitar player, had like nothing else really going on. So he just moved to Paris and like got a new bass player, got a new drummer. They kept playing. And then it so happened a few years later, I qualified for Pro Tour Paris in 2012. Mm-hmm. And I went there for a week. I met up with him. They booked a show. I brought like some other Magic players, Pete Ingram, Max Dietz, to go see the show. He tagged me in for a song on bass. He like fired the bass player. I played a song with them. I hung out all night with them. It was really, really a crazy experience.
That's great.
And yeah. So I was in that band for a while. I was in a hip hop band for a little bit, which is kind of cool, playing bass. And then I was in like a kind of like alt rock band semi recently, like 3 or 4 years ago. And that was fun because like we actually had resources, when I was playing in bands in my 20s, like I had no money, I had nothing, and like in this band, I was, 4-ish years ago, money was a lot less of a concern. So we like just recorded 2 EPs, we were able to go to the studio and record. We like played a show like once every 5 months. We were also busy. It was definitely more of like an adult band in that regard, but it was cool. I haven't played much recently, honestly, in the last few years, just like been way too busy. It's funny. Like I always wanted to buy a Rickenbacker bass. It's like a really, really nice bass. And Nicole, after I did well at Worlds, Nicole's like, you're buying that bass this year. And I'm like, I'm not even going to play it. I don't have time, like when I have a little more time, in the future, I'd love to do that. But so it's kind of a thing where, I think when we were in PLMB, the punk band, we were trying to kind of like make it, and we were trying to send out press kits and stuff. But, in my later bands, it was pretty obvious that like it was going to be a hobby. And if anything happened, cool. But, it's honestly very similar to streaming, where like it's the same idea. I tell people, if you're going to stream, if you're just starting having content creation, like you're not going to be Numa Tanami like immediately, just like you're not going to open for the Foo Fighters in Madison Square Garden if you're in a band. There's a lot of like, kind of just like treating it as a hobby. Don't treat it like a job before it is a job kind of stuff, so it's very, very similar in a lot of ways, which is interesting. I actually did an article on cool stuff about that, about like kind of common content creator questions of, and one of the big ones is kind of drawing the parallel there. If you're in a band, you don't just like go play some huge show, you play at a bar and try and get some fans and so on and so forth. So it was fun just kind of doing it casually and not really worrying about that. And I'd love to play again at some point. I did some like solo stuff where I like recorded everything myself, like guitar, bass, drums and stuff. But never really did more with it. So I don't know, at some point I do love playing, but it's just been like a very low on the priority list.
I have no instruments. What about the other two? You two? I know this isn't about us, just curious.
Evan's a musician. Evan's a full-fledged singer-songwriter with an album, maybe?
Some stuff I recorded when I was like 18, which is a thing. And
But you played on the show a couple times.
Yeah,
and I've made you.
Yeah, and I've got a SoundCloud if you want to go find that. I'm curious, what are some of your favorite records?
I like a pretty wide variety of stuff. I like a pretty like eclectic mix of things. I like a lot of weird like ambient post rock stuff. So like bands like Earth, Godspeed You Black Emperor, Mogwai, like kind of weird long. It's funny, like one time I was driving around with John, he was like 9, and I had a Godspeed You Black Emperor album on. For those that don't know, they're very like atmospheric, like 20-minute long songs, weird sound clips and stuff. And like it was on for about 5 minutes, and he was kind of like visibly shifting in the back, and he's like, I don't like this. It scares me. Like it sounds like murder music, or something like that. So I like that. I like a lot of hip hop stuff. I like MF Doom, Nas, things like that. People, that's what I'm often listening to at Pro Tours. And like when I'm playing events, people ask me when I'm on what's in the headphones usually. Side note, I'm so happy they changed the rules. So I can listen to music at tournaments now. Couldn't be happier. But I like heavy stuff, like Dillinger Escape Plan, kind of like more crazy stuff. I like ska, Shirley Manifesto. I would say that I tend to like bands that usually aren't in like one genre. Like I don't like many bands that are like just a hardcore band or just a punk band or just a metal band. I like the bands that kind of like experiment a little more and do a little more, and they're kind of more creative. And I think I would say sincerity is the most important factor for me in my musical enjoyment.
Regardless, we just found the title of the show. Jim likes murder music.
Great.
Perfect. I think we've got to take that title and run with it.
Let's go.
It is some creepy stuff, to be fair. Like thinking about it, like it's like this dude like talking about like how Coney Island used to be this place. There was this weird like soundscapey like wind in the background. And it was weird like low music, and like it does make sense. It would scare a 10-year-old, honestly. So
it works out. So for our standard usuals, we generally like to spill the tea and discuss what's going on day to day. And so what is your current rundown of Hasbro, the Wizard stock, 30th anniversary, all of that current mess?
We have time this show? Are we going to be able to?
I got nowhere else to be.
We got some moments. Go for it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that for the last few years, it's been pretty clear that they've really been turning the dial up to 11, and there's a fear. I mean, this happened, in the 90s with comic books and baseball cards and stuff, where you turn the dial up too much and like all of a sudden you burn everybody out and everyone's gone. It totally crashes. I think there's a lot of confusion in Magic right now with a lot of different things. There are a lot of different products. The whole phrase of like, this isn't for you kind of thing, which like can be okay, but like, it's just confusing. There's so many formats. There's so much online, offline, Magic Online, Magic Arena, Paper Modern, Paper Pioneer. Are you playing an RCQ? Are you playing in an S? What do we know? Like, and OP is a disaster. It's unclear what anything does for anything. Like, there's just so much confusion. And like, Magic has built up this brand in 30 years. It's, a real titan that has a ton of brand loyalty because, I mean, Magic's great. Everyone, loves Magic, but the problem is like, at what point is it like a little too much, or they go a little too far, and then, I did an article also on coolstuffinc.com about this. Go read my articles on coolstuffinc.com talking about like, what could kind of kill Magic? What could the death of the game be? And I think it's the kind of thing where it's not a death like, oh my God, they changed the card face. It's more of a, people get so worn down. And so they just kind of like, just keep getting pushed and pushed and pushed. And they just slowly stop caring. And that's the real danger. It's not going to be one big thing. It's going to be kind of just feeling like you're an ATM machine for Wizards of the Coast, and you're really just like, all right, here's the next thing. All right, here, I just can't do this anymore. So I am a bit fearful about that. I know there was like that Bank of America report that like kind of echoed similar sentiments. I've heard it a lot from the community, and like, I love Magic. Magic's great, but there's the chocolate cake analogy is a good one. You don't want to eat chocolate cake for dinner every night. It's great. But like, there's a spoiler every week of a new set. It's like, I can't have any more chocolate cake. I'm going to throw up, so, I want to be hopeful in some ways. And I'm also worried in some ways, at the same time, Magic's great. The core game design is still great. The formats are good. I love playing online, so I don't know. I try and stay mostly away from like MTG Finance kind of stuff. And I don't really know exactly. I mostly have, I feel like a more visceral, this is how I feel about this. And it might not be rational, or, I wouldn't say I have a particularly, super well thought out, reason for each thing and so on and so forth, but it does feel overwhelming at times.
What's your take on?
I mean,
go ahead.
I do this for a living. We all do. And I'm having trouble keeping track of what's coming out, when it's coming out. I mean, the release dates and the products are getting to be tough to manage. I can't imagine being just the casual player that plays every other Friday or something. You're going to come, every other Friday you come out, there's like a whole brand new set, 17 new decks, 37 new secret lairs. And it's tough.
Yeah, it is weird because like you're right. We're both literally full-time contractors. It's our job. And there's times where I don't know what a card even is or what set, like when they banned those cards in Pauper at the initiative, ban announcement, they listed 4 cards. And I was like, I have never heard of any of those cards in my life. And I do content full time, and then the tournament structure things, it's never super clear. Like, I don't know how Worlds worked exactly. And I played it. I don't necessarily know exactly what qualifies for what and stuff. Everything is just it's very muddy. I think that they've lost a bit of like the unity of everyone's kind of like doing the same thing, knowing what they're doing. And with OP, like used to be there was a season, it was standard season. So like if you're playing a PTQ, you're playing standard. Everyone knows that. It's like a common thing. It's not like I'm playing in this limited RSQ, I'm playing in this Pioneer RSQ, I'm playing modern, I'm playing this. It was a little more unified. I think that like that overarching element of the unity, like we're all playing the same game, gotten kind of lost in the last 4 or 5 years.
So Aaron Forsyth was like, we think we have some ideas of why standard is suffering. How do you feel they could do to help fix standard in some way?
I saw that thread. I responded to it as well. I think standard is very important. I know it's not always like the favorite format of people, but when I first started playing Magic, I played on a kitchen table. When high school ended, I wanted to play more, but had nobody to play with. Started playing online, and then eventually led me to going to a pre-release in paper for my first paper event. And then I went to the local store and I would draft because that's all I didn't have any cards. And then after a few weeks of doing that, some friends at the store were like, hey, play standard, here's a deck. And that was my on-ramp. And then I started playing standard, and then that got me going more and more. Like it was like the really easy on-ramp because you drafted the store and then you have a few cards, you get a few more cards, build a standard deck. And that every FNM in the country, anywhere on a Friday night at 7 p.m., you walk up the door with your standard deck, you can play or you can draft. And now with like Commander and Modern and Pioneer, so many of the really popular formats are really bad onboarding formats. Like, I don't know how anyone gets into Commander, like from nothing to Commander. Like there's 100 billion cards, there's a 100 card deck. I guess like, I don't really get Commander fully because like, have you played a few Commander games, you don't even bother reading the cards usually. Like, when that matters, tell me about it kind of thing. And like, that's really, really weird to me as a competitive player, but Commander's a lot to take in, and Modern's also a format that's very expensive. There's a lot to take in. So like, even though standard might not be the most exciting format at all times, having this sort of like, again, unifying force every Friday, everyone's playing standard, and the problem is that it's been had bad at times over the last like 4 or 5 years, Oko and some design mistakes and stuff. So it lost some of its mojo and they just like gave up on it. And like, well, that's, I guess, I don't know, it's still big on arena and stuff, but with COVID also, there hasn't been a reason to own a standard deck because you can't play on paper anyway. So there's that too. I don't know. I don't have a good solution. I just miss standard. I think standard should be a important thing. And I think it's the kind of thing also where like the PTQ system, like there should be some dictation from WotC, where it isn't always ideal. There were definitely times where like it was block constructed PTQ season. It wasn't a great block format. We would all grumble about it, but we all grumbled together. It was a unity thing. We're all doing the same thing together. This format isn't that great, but we're all playing it. We can talk about decks and stuff, and like it might feel a little heavy handed-ish at times to be like FMs are standard. That's it. Sometimes stores might not like that, I don't really know exactly, but that feeling of unity is really important and it's not there. And I can't keep going back to it, but I don't know. I don't really have a good solution, honestly. I just miss standard. That's really all I got.
I also miss standard. I went to a Card Kingdom here local in Portland, and it was a Friday night FNM, and I was like, great, I'm going to see some people playing some standard, maybe Pioneer. They had 2 events running, a Legacy and a $250 double masters draft with catered food. And I was like, where are the children?
Yeah.
Like
Wow.
nobody can nobody can feasibly play Magic here on a Friday night. Like, you know, there was the 20 old dudes in their legacy decks, and that was it. And I miss the times where I could buy a precon or whatever. Like, my first deck was like the little Judgment mono white thing, and I took that to F&M. It was $9.99, and you got to play. And I think that the way cards are priced out now is just forcing people to stay away from standard, because it's just the same price as modern, but like your decks are safe. And I don't know how they fix that.
Yeah, I could not agree more, you know, because the thing is that, you know, older players have money. Sure. You know, the 35-year-old guy or whatever has disposable income, is going to buy some Secret Lairs. Great. Print money, Wizards, do your thing. But you're right. You know, like, what's a 17-year-old kid supposed to do? You know, normally they would go to F&M, like you said, they would buy this precon, they would draft and learn the game and stuff. And like, they can't do that anymore, you know? And the thing is that WotC's focus is so much on squeezing out whales, you know, these 30, 40-year-olds and play Magic for 20 years, that they're not acquiring new blood in that respect, you know? And like, I couldn't agree more. You know, there's no on-ramp except for Arena, really. It just stinks.
And there's no road from Arena to paper right now, or turning Arena into paper like Magic Online had the ability to get sets, get cards out of the client, which is kind of odd now these days talking about it. But the other thing that struck me was that there are no F&M promos anymore. Yep. There are only promo packs. Mm-hmm. And like, it's small, but I actually think it was kind of important to have F&M promos that you went to go get at F&M.
Give people a reason to come, you know, right. Like that's the thing, you know, you say, well, no one's playing standard. Well, like, are you making it exciting to play standard? You know, like, give them the promos, get them in the door, you know, like try and, you know, like, don't just be like, well, everyone loves Commander, let's do Commander or whatever, you know, like, so I don't know. Yeah. I mean, that's a huge bummer for me, honestly. And I do agree. But like, the problem is that if you keep, you know, milking whales and not acquiring new, smaller fish, you're gonna run out of whales eventually. And then what, you know? So I don't know.
Post Malone can't save us all. So.
I would love to see some sort of pre-con standard decks that have a couple of staples in them, you know, that are reasonably priced, a very good deal to pick up. And I think that would help people get like a deck started. Now they'd have to know what decks would be moderately good in standard and prep those ahead of time, unfortunately. So it is a wish I know will never be fulfilled, but I feel like if you could start a deck for like $20 and have like a good chunk of the competitive side of it, and then you add, you know, the 4-ofs.
That's exactly how the Challenger decks got started.
Yeah, they had those. Yeah, the event decks. Yeah.
Marty Vehicles was half rares, 30 rares in that deck, including mythics.
And that that's was also how Hearthstone got off to such a big start, was you could get 2/3 of the starter cards when Hearthstone first came out in like a week for free, right? Marvel Snap is very similar. It's a free app that you can, in a month, you have everything, even if you don't put $15 into it. So, and Magic has no equivalent, and it's going in the opposite direction. And so it is sad to see that it's become a little bit more elitist than I remember it being. I mean, when I first started playing, I spent all of my money on Magic cards, which was my allowance, right? But the most expensive card was like, I saw a Rishadan Port in the jewel case for like $15, and I was like, that's an expensive Magic card. Right? You know, and those days are long gone.
Yeah, I think that the issue is that, like, I think Secret Lairs are great. I don't buy them. It's funny, I actually own one Secret Lair. Nicole got it for me for Christmas. It was like the metal band one with like the metal arts, really cool. I don't play with them, so they're ugly as sin to play with, but they're framed on my wall because they look really cool. Right. You know, so like, but Secret Lairs, you know, that's not for me. That's not really my thing. I think it's great though. I think that Secret Lairs are great. I think that doing all sorts of promos are great. I think the serialized cards in the new set are great. You know, I think making big collectibles for whales is awesome. It's great, but there should be a counter side to that of what's a collectible and what's a game piece. You know, like they should almost sell like black and white versions of a cards for half price. I mean, just like, you know, let the people who want to just play the game play at like, you can make money, but it can, you know, be cheaper, you know, and then like maybe make your money off the whales too. You know, that I think that this is actually meant to be an article topic for a while. I just haven't like really fully formed it yet, but like, you know, collectibles are great and they're doing a really good job on that side of the game, but game pieces are important too. And like you can have a differentiation, you know, like just have the really basic version of a card be cheap and then go from there. And they've kind of like not tried to do that at all.
Yeah, it's been tough, and I know that it's wild when you say, look, Wizard sold you an entire commander deck, half of it foil for $100, or you can buy 4 cards for $40 or whatever, and you're like, wait a minute. Where does that math happen, and how, and that was a lot of my feedback was, give them an on ramp to care about a format again, because we had years where just everything kind of, I don't know. And it was wild, because here's the weirdest thing was that when COVID hit and there were no events, Magic sold better. And how many years did we say, organized play is the key, right? You can't drop that organized play. You got to make sure we do this and get the surrogate, make sure it's worldwide and all this other stuff. And then everything stopped and then everything exploded. And it's like, how do you reckon those two things together?
Right. But now we're getting the other shoe dropping of the product fatigue.
Well, I think the thing is that part of the reason why people are so invested in Magic is because organized play built up that groundwork and built up that sort of the game being relevant. It was this game as a Hall of Fame, as a Pro Tour. It's the kind of thing where when I was explaining Magic back in the day, that's the first thing I would go to because it gave relevance to the game. It's like, it's a card game. It's like Pokemon or whatever. There's a world championship where you can win $50,000. There's a huge people travel around the world playing this game. Oh, really? That's cool. And even if they never play or do anything else, it still brings an element of legitimacy to it, And I think that, you can sell, like I mentioned this in some video I did, where the Wizards of the Coast is more interested in selling a $100 card to 1,000 people rather than a $10 card to 10,000 people. It makes the same amount of money. So they are making a lot of money in the last few years, but they're selling much more expensive products. And those products sell because of the brand loyalty you have and the player base you built up and the consumer confidence you have. People love Magic, but that doesn't work without the OP and without many, many years of Magic being accessible and so on and so forth to bring those people in, and now they're at the point where they can be whales and buy stuff. So I think that it's almost a little misleading. We're they made $1 bajillion in the last few years, but they've been selling $90 secret layers and $100 Vis and $1,000 booster 4-pack set, whatever, so the things cost so much more. So they're making more money, but it's the whole killing the sheep, not shearing the sheep kind of thing.
Yeah. So I started similar to you, right? Getting into standard with my little pre-con thing that I just would replace cards out of. If that generation is not coming in, are we going to be wailing 10, 15 years from now? And will the 20 somethings be there to continue to keep the game afloat? I don't know.
Yeah, it's a serious concern. And the thing is that it's felt like most of the choices at Wizards of the Coast in the last few years have been focused on the next quarter, not a year from now, not 5 years from now, not 10 years from now. It's just get every drop you can out of this and let's see where it goes. Let's try and top last quarter, and that's great in the short term. Make a bunch of money. That's great. But you're right. What's going to happen in 5 years? Are the players going to be there? I don't know. Do they care? I hope so. I would like Magic still be here in 5 or 10 years for sure, but you can only ring so hard for so long before things start to dry out.
So before we turn the corner here to the fundamental turn, is there anything that you're hoping to see from Wizards or Magic in the near term or long term?
I really want the Pro Tours to go well. DreamHack was kind of a mess, honestly. The actual running of the tournament was not great, which makes sense. Honestly, it was a kind of a new company running the first 1,000 player Magic tournament in 4 years. Sure. Logistic wise, it was an issue. Aside from that, it was awesome. The event, just seeing everyone was so awesome. I saw so many people I haven't seen in 5-6 years. Everyone was very excited to play. I love DreamHack proper. Just being at a big, cool event is very nice. If you do bad, you just walk over and look at Ludwig at a glass box or whatever, I'm a huge StarCraft fan. So I watch StarCraft. I met Cyril the Goat, which is super cool, so other things to do too. But the actual Magic event was great in the sense that I love playing Magic. Everyone's here. We're doing this again, but there were a lot of kinks, so I want to see the Pro Tour do really, really well. I was honestly kind of sad at Worlds because it was really shunted into the corner.
Yeah.
I know, Brittany, you were at Worlds, it was just this little thing in the corner and there was this huge stage on the other half but that was for panels and for, Commander or game nights live and stuff, which is great. I think that's awesome. But there was no place to watch Worlds. Like the first 2 days, there were two, 70-inch TVs in the Worlds area, just facing outward to a walkway.
Yeah.
There were no chairs. There was nothing, and
wow.
There's like if you build it, they will come kind of thing, like looking at the StarCraft setup at DreamHack, I was very happy to be there. So StarCrafts, it was bumping. The crowds were, standing room deep. And I felt a real pang of jealousy. Like, why couldn't Magic do this? Why couldn't this have been the arena era of Magic? You build it and they'll come, so like they could have had a TV in the play area, say every 4 rows, just playing the coverage from Worlds. You have a stage, people can sit and watch Worlds. Some person walking around, they get some food. I'm gonna sit down for a bit. Oh, what's this? They sit down and watch Worlds for an hour. And that reinvigorates their interest in competitive Magic or whatever. So there's no effort at all to really like make it a part of the event. It was just kind of there. It was in the corner. And it's funny because I felt bad because the production seemed great. The coverage was great. The commentators were great. Like, when I lost my win-in, which obviously hurts, like they had like a great camera shot of like me reacting, and then like Corey come behind me and giving me a hug, me getting up, hugging my teammate who beat me hugging my team. They had like, the coverage was excellent. It was really, really good, but people weren't watching it because it wasn't easy. People didn't know about it. It wasn't really there. That's a huge bummer. I think that it might've been a byproduct of like, this was the last remnant of the arena era and they just didn't care because it's not going to be arena stuff anymore. Maybe, hopefully, but I would really like to see at Magic 30 in Philly for the Pro Tour, a great viewing area, hype about the event, have a stage where people can meet the pros before the event or whatever, like we used to do that stuff ourselves on the SG Tour. Like Team MGG and then Team BCW would literally go to a FNM the night before the SCG and do a challenge event for 2 hours. Yeah. And like our sponsors would, give out their product or whatever. If we get the sponsors into the store, they were happy about it. We'd meet people and sign things. It was great, and like, there's just nothing like that. And if they are going to bother bringing the Pro Tour back, like, promote it. People should know about Worlds happening. They didn't do the promotion where you pick your champion. When Paulo won, I looked at the thing, I picked Paulo won. I got a cool little avatar thing and, I got 5 packs, whatever. It doesn't really matter what the prize is, but it's fantasy sports. I see an email from Arena. I'm a casual player. Oh yeah, I'll pick someone. I'll want 5 free packs. Cool. I picked them and now I actually care. Oh, did Ken Yukihiro win? I picked him. Did I win? I won. Cool. Just like little simple things like that. Like it was a brilliant promotion. It's so easy to do. I think. So I think my number one thing I really, really want to see is, some amount of effort put into competitive Magic. I know it's been Commander this and Commander that lately and so on and so forth, but, there's an element of if you build it, it will come, just do a good job at the coverage, do a good job at the events, just make it exciting, like, I don't know. I feel bad because a lot of the younger players aren't going to get to experience what I experienced, traveling to Prague and Japan and Hawaii, like winning these PTQs, going to these events and stuff. And like, I just want to see it, flourish in that way again.
I was really sad at 30. I mostly stayed in the back half of the building for events. And you're right. We couldn't go watch the Worlds, but in the actual Magic playing section, they had the big stage was facing that, and they had big screen TVs from, looking out from the stage, showing what they were showing for the panels and the EDH live stuff. And yeah, there were like booming over the loudspeaker sounds of like, in this corner, blah, blah, blah. And then all of the game nights people came out with like wrestler,
boxer gear,
boxer. Yeah. Like the boxer robes and stuff like that. And like, I wish they had done some of that for Worlds. Yeah. But it looks like they put all of their eggs into that basket, and that's the thing that they wanted to promote. And at one point, like half the people in the play area were standing up watching those big screens that were over several rows of booths. They made sure would be able to be seen from anywhere in the room.
Yeah. Boxy was saying it was awesome. Like it went great. The crowd was hooting and hollering with every draw step. That's awesome. I'm not really a Commander player, but I want to see Magic succeed in that regard. But I kind of want a little bit of that too for us, maybe, like it's the World Championship, $100,000 of first place. Like John Finkel, Kai Bude, this storied history of Magic. Like, like, does this matter anymore? Does at all? Like somebody, anybody, like, please, so yeah, I mean, that's what I want.
I try to look for sort of lessons that, things I like about other sports or other esports. And I'm big into Counter-Strike these days because I'm a nerd. And they have a whole media day. They have a whole day before the event starts. That's just interviews and pictures and videos and little insert shots and silly, quizzes that they give them and all this other content creation silliness. So they have a whole bunch of stuff they can pepper in through the entire event and help sort of personalize the players and help to get to know them and stuff like that. And it just feels like they've never wanted to go that far in sort of showcasing personalities versus like, hey, look at the cards. And you're like, cards are great, but like, we're fans of you and Reed Duke and, Johnny Magic and all the big stuff. So,
like you're saying, the blueprint's there, like Counter-Strike. Again, the StarCraft event, StarCraft does their coverage so well. Like the event was it's just excellent. All the commentators are spot on. The players walk out onto the actual stage, and like it's an esports stage. It's at a computer, but like they have a great graphic up with like the players' faces, so you can see who's playing in each event. They have the big screen, and like it's a stage where there's a stage and both players are playing. There's a big screen out pushed in front so they can't see it, and everyone's just there watching. Like right then they have the headphones on with like the noise, they can't hear it, and like that's really, really cool. It's not like the blueprints aren't there. And then the SG Tour did the same thing. Like they were so great at marketing their players. That's why I do what I do. If it wasn't for the SG Tour marketing me, like who would care about Jim Davis, like, and like they did that really, really well. It can be done. So just do it.
I think they did try to do that with the Mythic Invitationals. Like at the start of right before COVID, when was it who was in the video? LL Cool J or some, like I don't remember.
Sir
you remember what I'm talking about?
Sir
Mix-a-Lot.
The world
and, like,
will know.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I feel like they tried to do that and they didn't quite get the crowd response that they were looking for. They didn't get the viewers on Twitch, it didn't quite blow up. Now I'm curious. I'm going to lay out my theory as to why that is and why Wizards dropped it so quickly. I'd love to hear your opinion. I think the reason that Wizards failed at becoming the next esport is because they've priced out their entire viewer base. People don't want to watch a thing they can't compete in. So like, if you wanted to be a competitive standard player, day one, brand new, right now, what would it cost? Like the mana base alone is outrageous. Hearthstone, Counter-Strike, StarCraft, none of them have that entry fee to get there. So the masses can immediately jump on board and be like, this is really cool. I'm going to play. And you get that built-in viewer base. And that's what brings in, the NVIDIA money and the Red Bull money. But Magic can't do that because they want whales and they want little children to watch, but then don't allow them to play. So I'm curious if you think that has any truth to it.
Yeah, strong agree. And it all circles back, just to like the price of the game and then not really focusing on the acquisition, just like milk the whales and call it a day, like, and you're right. Like that's the thing, you can watch that League of Legends game and go download it and just go play, just go try it out, like, and you download Arena, you have your white starter deck with, one rare in it. And you're like, oh, I want to build Jim's deck from Worlds. Okay. Buy $400 in packs, get the wild cards that you want. Whoa. Okay.
And that's just one deck.
That's one deck.
Right?
That's one deck.
And I think that's the problem across Magic, across the board, is the same idea. You have collectibles, which are great. They're killing that part of the game. But the game piece part of the game is not there, and like, I did another article on CoolStuffInc.com, where I talked about alchemy and how alchemy has been, floundering very, very, very much so in a lot of different ways. And I was kind of saying, what if they just made alchemy like free? Just like give it away. Have that be your onboard point. So you get these alchemy cards, you can play this format for a very free or a very, very low cost. And that's your on-ramps. I like this. This is fun. What if I want to compete in a tournament? That's standard. So you can take some of your cards you got in the alchemy set and add some more cards here and kind of go from there. You just some sort of onboarding ramp, because you're right. It's just so hard to get into it, so you're catered to the whales, you're catered to your established player base. You're not growing from there. And you're right. If it's going to be a spectator sport and players can't just jump in and play, it is hard to care.
And the sponsors that give the real money, they care about how many eyeballs are on the game, and there just isn't enough because there aren't enough 30-somethings that want to, to give their viewership in that way.
There was also just a lot of like when you have sort of like the whaley old guard, these players who are 35 years old, they're now have a good job and they can afford to buy whatever secret layers there are. They're also just grumpy, like I don't like new things, I don't like arena, I don't like alchemy, I don't like, and they're not like excited new young blood that you would get.
We brought you on here to give us your opinions, not to make fun of Evan.
That's right.
Whoa.
I was just gonna say something about that.
Gosh.
But that's the thing, and you see it a lot where like, I don't really like arena, I don't really like this, I'm not gonna do that, I'm just gonna play my commander deck, and that's fine, great, do your thing. But like, if you want that young excitement that comes from younger players, and players who are new to the game and they're excited and they're not jaded at this point, and they'll try it alchemy, they'll try it arena, they'll try out new things, so make it exciting for that too. But those players can't get in because it's too expensive. So yeah, strong agree, couldn't agree more. I think if you're looking for the one major worry I have for Magic in the next 5 to 10 years, it's that the acquisition is so difficult. It's just so damn expensive.
Yeah, I like your idea of having something be free that they can be playing at the top tier level to buy them time to get their cards, to, you know what I mean? Like, you can maintain a free to play account if you're already up to date, kind of thing. So you can continue to get packs slowly to build your standard deck, but you can also just play alchemy and actually have a good time without spending months in a dumpster starter deck.
Yeah, and then at the same time, if alchemy is its own like self-contained thing, maybe it's even just like a completely different set of cards. It doesn't need to be like I in my article I laid out that like it should be mostly its own format, because the parallel with standard like didn't really work. It was kind of pitched as like the fixed standard, but when they print like a bunch of really good alchemy cards, like that goes out the window. So why bother doing that? So just like have it be its own thing. This is sort of like the online Hearthstone version of Magic. I like the digital stuff. I like Perpetual, Conjures, are all cool mechanics. Have it be its own format. It's only on Arena. Almost all the cards, maybe you see it in like, a Shock or a Duress or something like that, is like just make the format better, but like it's its own thing. That's free to play. And then if you want to play Historic or you want to play something else, cool. Here's how you get there. So yeah, I mean, Magic lacks that element both in paper and online, and it's a big problem.
Yeah, most of the people I know who try to do the free to play, I'm never going to give Arena a dime type stuff, they get one deck. You get one deck per season before the next set release, and you can get that one deck, and then you got to wait till the next season before you can grind to the next deck, and so on and so forth. And
what's the fun of Magic? It's building decks, it's like trying different things, not just playing your mono white deck over and over again because you got nothing else. That's lame, that's burnout, you're gone, so like, I don't know. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's turn the corner here to the fundamental turn. Woo, 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 woo. Yeah. All right, here we go. The first thing on the top of your head as I ask these quick fire questions.
Start the editing in there.
All right, here we go. Old border or new border?
Old border.
Favorite set?
Can I caveat that, or can I?
Go ahead.
Some of the old border stuff is ugly. Like the gold cards are really, really ugly, but a lot of it's good.
So old border.
I guess it's funny.
With caveats.
Yeah, some of the old borders I haven't put in my cube, like Baleful Strix and Tide Hollow's colors. They don't have like the artifact border and stuff too. So I don't know.
Can I say something I've noticed with the new Brothers War decks that they went and did with the like retro border stuff? The titles of the cards are a lot harder to read. Anybody else notice that?
Yeah, they're not perfect. They're hard. Yeah, so.
All right, so favorite set?
I'll say Onslaught. That's when I first like really started playing.
Favorite
Seriously.
mechanic?
That's a tough one. If I say kicker, is it a cop out?
It's a mechanic.
Kicker.
Favorite deck?
Goblins.
Card you wish you never got rid of?
Like the physical card?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I ever really owned a crazy old card, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I have a good answer for that.
It's
totally honest.
Best advice you repeat?
Focus on the things you can control.
What do people get wrong about you?
I think people think I'm like serious and grumpy and hard to approach, because when I actually play a game of Magic, I look like a jerk. I'm just like but that then they see me actually walking around. They're like, oh, you're like pretty friendly and good to talk to. So
what do people get right about you?
I'm very good looking.
What makes you happy?
I'm Honestly, doing what I do. I'm so freaking lucky. Like, I play Magic for a living and like just do stuff like this. This is my job. It's great.
Failure means
Not trying.
success means
Trying.
And that ends our first ever episode of Magic Mike's +1+1. Thanks for joining us here to discuss all things Magic. Thank you, Nerd Girl.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Ruben.
Thank you. This was great.
Yeah, thank you, Jim.
Thanks for having me so much.
It was super duper fun. As we move to our final slide here, I want to thank our sponsor, CoolStuffInc.com, our co-sponsors, CardHoarder.com and Alter Sleeves, my co-host, MTG Nerd Girl and Ruben Bressler, our special guest, Jim Davis. You guys for watching and listening. I hope you support us at patreon.com/magicmikes. Please follow, like, tweet, favorite, share, subscribe to everything social that tells people we exist. Catch us online on our Discord, twitch.tv at Magic Mikes, on Twitter at Magic Mikes Cast, our Magic Mikes subreddit, and like the Magic Mikes page on Facebook. Or join us here next week, same time, same place, for another episode of Magic Mike's +1+1. Good night, everybody.